Welcome everybody at Bitcoin Amsterdam 2022, and we're here with my buddy Stef again and Ben.
Ben Ark.
Yeah, and we had a workshop after Ben's workshop, which was quite long.
Yeah,
very
but
interesting.
it was perfect. Actually,
yeah, it was perfect. No, indeed, it really was.
I was told that it was going to be 55 minutes, and then originally I thought it was going to be 20 minutes. And then I realised it was 55 minutes a couple of days ago, and I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to have enough content to fill 55 minutes. But then after a couple of technical glitches, I was like way over. And then Chrissy, she said to me, you're like 15 minutes over. And then I felt so bad that like I'd take 8 minutes.
No, we were in the audience, and we could listen for another hour.
I tell you what, I also felt bad because we had like Vladstein, one of our contributors, he contributed a whole new extension, which I was going to demo, which is the doing eCash, the cashew extension.
Yeah.
And he PR'd it this morning at 4 a.m, and I was like, okay, I'll make sure that I demo this thing because it's so important. And then I didn't do it. I didn't have enough time, and I felt sorry. Yeah, so my timing was awful.
And there were even people that said, "Oh, he went so fast." So
really,
yeah. So.
Maybe you should do another workshop tomorrow.
Yeah, then. that's the best.
But one thing for sure. I mean, this is we are now. It's like 4 p.m. So the day is almost over. But the thing that I like the most, that the workshop stage was the most crowded stage here.
Yeah,
I mean, there were people standing outside just to see what's going on inside. You know.
I think as well, because when we went to Miami, and in fact, so in 2019. The San Francisco Bitcoin Conference, me and Step and Sneakerev of Spectre Wallet, we realized there wasn't like a workshop area.
Yeah.
And we both had some electronics, so we put 2 tables together. And we made this little ad hoc workshop area. And then this big crowd of people started, you know, it's computer dorks, man. We don't like big crowds of people. We want somewhere quiet to go where we can talk out over laptops and stuff, and sort of technically minded people can congregate in a certain area. And then I think that the organisers, Bitcoin Magazine, BTC Media, they realised that there was definitely value there.
Yeah.
And every year, and every conference they've done, it's got better and better and better.
Yeah.
And with the Miami conference we had, which they organised, I heard a bunch of podcasts where they'd be like, yeah, it was a bit corporate, but then we went to the free and open source area, and there were people with soldering irons, and there were people building this, and there were people building that.
Beer.
Stan is scoring points for you.
And for them, that was like the most important part of the conference.
Yeah, well, what I heard is that this is a collaboration between Bitcoin Inc., so Bitcoin Magazine, and also some big organization from Holland. And the guys from Holland, they went to Miami, and they really missed. They wanted to make it more of things you should have things to do on a conference, and then they came up with the idea to really have a workshop place stage, and I think they nailed it. I mean, I think it should be twice the size as it is now, right?
And it's the complete opposite. So if you're from Europe and you're on a Bitcoin conference in America, then it's so different than what we're accustomed to. So I think it's
they
total
kind of,
opposite.
for them, it's a very kind of biz devy type environment where it's very corporate minded and price minded. And like you say, for Europeans, like we're used to going to the stuff which Volmo organises in Germany, and they're all like, there's workshops, and then even in the UK we have like Advancing Bitcoin, and it's a whole day full of workshops, and you can go and learn all these new things, and everyone's skilling up. And it's great that hopefully some of this will rub off on them, more of this will rub off on them. And then the next big conference they do in America, it'll kind of bring this European building-centric style.
That would be great.
I told the guys, I know that the Dutchies that are co-organizing this, and I told them, well, when you guys nail it, you mustn't be surprised that when the guys from America invite you to cooperate also for the conference next year in Miami. And what I heard is that this will be a yearly event. So next year we will also have the same event here in Amsterdam.
Recurring event for decentralized Amsterdam. So
it's such an obviously great place to do it because it's an airport. It's so easy to fly to, and it's a beautiful city. It's got this incredible history with the tulips. And and so it's an obvious place that there should be a great European Bitcoin conference every year. So we'll make it continue.
Great. Hey, we prepared some yes or no questions for you, Ben. You already featured on one of our our previous shows, so you know our structure a bit. Normally we prepared 10, but now, well, we are a bit more relaxed. So we only prepared 3 for you, but we really want to ask you. So only answer them by yes or no. Edward will ask the first one for you.
It's no truth or dare. Okay, let's start. I will use the Bitcoin Lightning NFC card on the conference.
No.
I was nervous this morning.
Yes.
I finished my 8th beer already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Thanks to
cool.
the guys.
A little beers to be fair.
Well, you're a Welshman, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, it's Dutch courage. I mean, do you have that phrase, Dutch? I suppose you just call it courage, do you? But in the UK, if we've got a daunting task, then we'll have a little bit of alcohol.
Yeah.
And then we'll call it Dutch courage.
Dutch courage. Well, no, we don't have
Dutch
something.
courage.
No, we don't have something here. No.
That's interesting.
Nederlandse
That is
moed.
interesting.
Nederlandse moed.
You just call it courage.
Yeah, moed. Yeah.
Courage. Because it helps, right? Because if you have alcohol, then...
Yeah.
Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up. Don't you know?
You are a speaker on the Bitcoin Amsterdam Conference, and you just had those talks. What was it about?
So we did I did a talk. I mean, it was headlined as LNbits / LNURL.
Yeah.
But it was mostly LNbits and just showing all the different functionality we have in LNbits, all the extensions we have. I mean, the format for the talk was supposed to be where we came from, where we are, where we're going.
Yeah.
However, I only really covered where we came from, where we are, because there's just so much stuff. And like, it was a shame because where we're going, like, I had a bunch of. I was just saying off air that Vladstam, one of our main contributors, built like a whole extension this morning, doing this crazy Chormey and eCash thing, where you can become a mint and you can create your own Chormey and eCash and you can give them to your people using your LNbits install, and you get all the properties which you get from a Chormey and eCash. And I was really psyched this morning. He PR'd it at 4:30 this morning, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to demo this. And then before I knew it, Chrissy, the organizer, she was saying you've run over, and I was like, and then I didn't get to demo the thing. So
Running out of time. Oh,
running out of time, man. But I mean, honestly, like this is the thing with LNbits. Before, it was like a linear experience. It's like, okay, now we're working on this extension. Now we're working on this thing for the core or the functionality, blah, blah, blah. Now it's like, okay, now we have this eCash thing going on, and we've got standard sats are building some stablecoin thing, and there's this thing over here, and there's this, that over there.
But is it because you have now multiple contributors to
Yeah, it's the developers. I mean, we're talking about it's the community, man. Like, it's the people who give up their time for free voluntarily.
Indeed. And then things go so fast. Yeah.
It's absolutely, and now because we have a sort of business arm of LNbits where we're going to set up a shop and we're going to do like a software as a service thing where we can spin up LNbits quickly and easily. So we have some funds available to be able to employ a couple of developers full time. Like, we've gone from this part-time project to this full-time project, and the traction is just so hard to keep up with. It really is. I mean, it's almost too much. It's like, can you everyone just stop for a week and then just let the dust settle for a second, please? Nikali actually was complaining the other day that we need like a consolidation period, and I was like, fuck no, let's go, bitches. Come on, the racehorse is out there. Let it run. We're still in beta.
No, but it's quite the same in our, for instance, our Rings of Fire community. I did everything by hand, and one of our colleagues, he said, well, I can make a Telegram bot, automating the whole process of creating a ring, and now we have someone making those, I have one here, I guess. Oh, it's in my...
The NFC card.
The NFC cards, which we already talked about.
The production time is so fast.
So crazy.
I mean, if you don't do everything yourself, then how long was it?
He could produce multiple per second, right? It was 4 per second or something.
4 minutes, I think.
Do you have a machine which goes to people?
Yeah. So it's I think he did. It took 4 minutes to process all 500 cards. But I mean, the guy, I'm a bit hyped about it, but the guy, he just volunteered and he said, well, guys, I think I'm going to build a script to automate this. I'm using the API from LNbits.
And also the funding.
Automated funding. Also automated. And he printed out all the QR codes. And then we had to do some handwork because it was...
This is the guy I was talking to.
Yeah,
because we said that the Bolt.fun, they're doing a hackathon. It's like a month-long hack. Is it a month-long hackathon thing?
Yeah.
And we're definitely going to put up a couple of LNbits bounties. If he wants that bounty to be able to put some of that functionality into LNbits, so that
yeah, sure, yeah. He already told us it needs to be also an extension.
I think as well, because there's prizes in that hackathon. So it's very exciting. But as soon as you've experienced, because it's a bit like in my talk. I'm like, oh, and this QR code does this, and this QR code does that, and this QR code does that, and you're like,
I saw the QR codes, yeah.
There's so many fucking QR codes, and we're used to it as Bitcoiners. But for noobs, they're like, what? What's this? Freaking more QR? I mean, just come out of COVID. Do I need more QR codes in my life?
That's why some of the people said, well, it was fast, but I think it's too much to grasp.
QR codes.
Yeah.
So but when you've done a tap and pay with an NFC card. And it's faster than the tap and pay you do with your debit card, you're like, we're there. Like, we can compete with the legacy Visa network right now. We're there.
Yeah, I mean, the NFC cards are quite the same. I also use my Zeus connected to my own node, and I use a VPN to my home network, and this is instant, basically instant. I mean, I think I can compete even with Apple Pay time-wise. So that's pretty nice. But
I would like to see.
Well.
Is you've got an LNURL withdrawal on there, which you give for the merchant to be able to withdraw funds. In HCCP, in Parallel Polis, they had this great card thing around the neck, and it had two ROM memory units. One had an LNURL withdrawal, so you could pay for your beer. The other had an LNURL pay. So you could go to the ATM, put money in, then you give the ATM the LNURL pay, and they pay you. So you can off that same card, you can have funds go in and have funds go out as well, and that was really nice. And I think with the LNURL fallback scheme, you could have, as well as the LNURL withdrawal, you could also have the LNURL pay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could give the LNURL pay to the bar person because whatever, they're going to give you some money, But you could also then give it to an ATM and then do tap and pay. So
then you get funded through
the same card as well.
That's great. Yeah.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, because now you need to import it in Blue Wallet and then put some funds on it.
If there was an ATM here and it's like, oh, your card's run out, don't worry. Go up to the ATM, put a tenner in, tap it, boom. You load it again. Let's go.
We already talked it a bit, but developments on the Lightning Network and tools around it, well, with LNbits, I mean, do I need to say more? But it are happening at an incredible speed. But what is most necessary to develop to get more pre-coiners, so people that don't have Bitcoin aboard?
So we did a panel on this.
Cool.
And I'm of the belief that, Bitcoin users require different functions, obviously. People predominantly using Lightning Network aren't using it as a store of value because it's a hot wallet.
Yeah.
So either you're running a node yourself and exposing those funds to all the risks of having those funds on the node, or you're using a custodial solution. As a hot wallet, you're probably going to be using it as a medium of exchange if you need it. Most of us, we're enthusiasts, so we're just running it anyway, whatever, we want to make payments. If you're using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, then the biggest hurdle in somewhere like El Salvador, for example, I think is price stability.
Yeah.
If you've got someone who's if they're accepting Bitcoin, which they're not going to store in some stack, they're probably going to want to then spend it on bills. And if they're going to spend it on bills, they need to make sure that Elon Musk doesn't tweet something and they can't pay their bills. So I really think that, and this is we all assume, I don't know if it's correct or not, but I think it's a correct assumption, that when Bitcoin gets enough liquidity within it, it will be too hard to move it price-wise.
Not able to manipulate it anymore.
No, exactly. Then it becomes a stable medium of exchange. Great. Hard money, stable medium of exchange. Fantastic. However, till we get there, I mean, it's almost like chicken and egg. It's like we need it to be stable for people to use it, for then to get the liquidity to become a stable medium of exchange. But it won't be a stable medium of exchange unless people use it as a medium of exchange.
Yeah.
So I really think stable coins, stable solutions are the way forward. So the stuff which Galloy are doing with the stable sats, or the standard sats, people are doing as well with by using Collider for hedging.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important and interesting work, particularly for countries which are going to be leveraging this free and open source money stack, technology stack, which has all these great minds working on it. They haven't got, big central banking infrastructure and all this money for doing fintech stuff and CBDCs and everything. They're going to just use this free and open source stack. Those countries are going to want they're going to want a stable Turkish lira, digital Turkish lira. They're going to want a digital El Salvador colon or whatever. So, and then I think when that stack's available, lots of countries will be like, well, we could have or whatever. And then they'll produce their own currency, but it will be on Bitcoin. It will be far more corruption resistant than the current fiat currencies and stable currencies and soft currencies which exist right now. And it will bring in a hell of a lot of liquidity into Bitcoin, which will
automatically trigger it.
And it will make it redundant. But I think for Lightning, that's the most important thing. If people are using it as medium of exchange, because clearly they're not going to be using a store of value, because if you're using a store of value, then it's ridiculous to put it on an on-chain hardware wallet or something. So it's I've been interested to kind of feel the sentiment about that at the conference. And I mean, clearly within Bitcoin, people are thinking about this problem. Like the Galloy lot, they're on the ground in El Salvador. They see this as an issue. People need a stable medium of exchange. Better it be on Bitcoin than anything else. And then how do we build this thing in the most corruption-resistant way? Not just for internal forces, but then external forces as well. It's very important.
And interoperability in LNbits, of course, is very important. And it works, for example, with LND and Core Lightning. Do you think for all development and projects, it's important to make it interoperable?
I just think it's a massive plus. So, like when I used to do my point of sale. Before LNbits, when I used to do my hardware projects, I'd make I've made an LND POS, and then it's like, well, okay, you've catered for 30% of the people using Lightning. It's like, okay, now I need to make a C Lightning version, and then I've got these two different versions running, and then I need an Eclair version. And there's some people using OpenNode, so I need an OpenNode version, and that's where LNbits came from. Mostly was the fact that we just needed to extrapolate out the actual functions of communicating to a funding source, be it a node or a custodial solution, are very simple. It's get an invoice, pay an invoice, has an invoice been paid, that's it. And if you have those libraries available, communicating to all those different funding sources, and then I can just make one POS. And now, when I make a piece of hardware, I made the claw thing for this. And the claw game thing, and I just made it for LNbits, and it's like, well, that works on C Lightning, LND, whatever. Just run LNbits in between, as a middleware. And then as well as that, so we're getting attacked. We've got a demo node, like LNbits, legend.lnbits.com, and that's been running for 2.5 years, and we've been attacked by everybody because we've got money in there. Do you know what I mean? And it's it's money by free and open source contributors. It's not money which is owned by, it's not some company which has that money.
It's their own.
And we say to our users, we're just use it for experimenting. Don't put any funds on. They do put funds on there. They shouldn't put funds. Don't put funds on there. So if you, I know by building a piece of hardware, a piece of software for LNbits on the API, not only can I then connect, is interoperable with any funding source, because none of them have a shared API standard, which is silly really, we should have thought that beforehand. You also have a lot of the hardening, which we've been exposed to. Because if you're setting up a project, you haven't had 2.5-3 years of hardening like we've had with LNbits. So it's we're still in beta, so use it with caution, but it's a very exciting project for that reason.
And you also demonstrated an LNURL POS offline Lightning payment solution. It was with the vending machine. But do you think we will see more offline payments in the future? Because everything is going on the internet basically nowadays.
Yeah, it's a funny one that, because we were saying about the tap and pay cards.
Yeah.
And actually, so I mean, it's not really offline. You're leveraging the fact that somebody else is using an online device. The pay is online.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't work for an NFC to offline. But then maybe there is a solution there. Maybe you can do offline. There's probably some like guarantor solution, which I think would be quite interesting. So if I can stake some coins with LNbits or something, and then they can be my guarantor, and then I have some proof to say that I've done that, and then I don't know, like I could give that offline to somebody, and we could make payments offline, verify the payment through a pre-image or something, and then I don't know how it would work. But I think that potentially there is a solution there for offline, but we're not there yet. But currently, most people use mobile phones to make Lightning payments, and by doing that, they're online.
Yeah.
So we can piggyback on that with our point of sale and with the vending machine as well.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. And the cool thing is, because you already told it also in the talk, that you came up with the idea on conferences where the cellular is very bad, and we experienced it here also. That some people couldn't get connection to the internet and weren't able to pay for their beers here.
That's
at
the only
point
thing
of sale. But the fun thing is,
it's the internet.
It's so basic. And
That's amazing.
but the fun thing is, this works.
This works.
It works.
So indeed.
This works. So that's also, so it can go both sides actually.
Yeah,
So
because it's an LNURL
but
withdrawal.
the optionality is there, and that's
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You can either the payers online or the merchants online.
exactly.
But then ultimately, like, can you imagine in the legacy payment systems we have now? I mean, are there conferences for this shit? I mean, the people who work on Visa Network, do they have a conference where these people thousands of people voluntarily congregate and get really excited and have talks and have?
No.
I mean, does that happen? I don't know.
I think they have conferences where they lick on caviar, but it's only for the big bosses, right?
They lick caviar and liquidized squid.
And snort cocaine, maybe.
Snort cocaine. But I mean, it's just not the enthusiasm's not there, the energy's not there, and that's what we have here.
That's
and that's
so
why
important.
It can't compete. Like,
No.
how can it possibly
No,
compete?
that's it. It's way stronger. Yeah.
And that's Bitcoin. Looping it back round to Bitcoin's value.
Talking about some other things that you're busy with, Diagonally and Nostr. We talked about it also in the Nostr.
Well, I think I said on your show. I mean, I haven't done anything Diagonally for like a year. I feel really bad. Not Diagonally, with Nostr for a year. There's a bunch of things I want to build on Nostr. I'm waiting for someone to crack the reputation stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it could be down to a guarantor. So I can, if I haven't got any reputation, perhaps I can stake something and then I can leverage your reputation in some way. I'm not sure, but maybe there's some solution there. I think we need to look at guarantors, the reputation stuff. But Tal, he's again, I didn't demo it. He's working on the Diagonally extension now in LNbits and the shop part of it. So basically, we have, you can put in shipping, who you'll ship to. You can put in products. You can put in, and you can link them to a market stall, and then that's signed by keys. Then we have a front end, and then the front end you can just have all the products, and you can pay for a product. You can put products in your cart and then pay for those products. All that's built. Currently, it's done in a way where we've not built it on Nostr. We've built like Diagonally on your LNbits install. So you just enable Diagonally, then you do that. That's pretty much built. But then the next stage is, we built it with Nostr in mind. The next stage is that the indexing software, the front end, is just listing products which market stalls have pointed at it and have signed off that these are my products as a merchant, and then this is my reputation, and these are the sales I've done. So it's like we're sort of making. It's funny because they had Parallel Parallels, the HCCP Hackers Congress, not long ago. It was about a month ago, And then when that happened, I was like, oh my God, like a year before that, I was presenting Diagon Alley at HCCP. And I was like, yeah, man, we're going to have it built in like a month. It was like a year later. Yeah. So there was a lot to do, but Tal's stepping up, man. Like he's built some cool stuff. And Stefan as well, Fusion 44, he's also built a
Fusion 44 is his alias, or
yeah. He's built. It's all right. He does use them intimately, so it's okay. I haven't doxed him with his name. He should be here actually somewhere. I haven't seen him yet, but he's one of our big contributors into. Oh man. So he's built this Nostar extension for LNbits, which will just Nostify things. So the Nostar extension connects to relays and blah, 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 and then we'll handle all the Nostar stuff, and then you can get Diagon Alley to leverage that extension, like collaborate with that extension. But Stefan, and this was another big thing which I wanted to talk about in my talk, but I didn't have time. He's like WordPressified LNbits. So the goal with LNbits is, yes, we've got all these extensions which are packaged in now, but ultimately to get out of beta, we need to have core as the software you install, and that's audited by like shit-hot hackers and whatever. Mm-hmm. And then the extensions, like in WordPress, like we have an extension repository which you pull from and you install the extensions. And we verify, we've looked at them and they're secure. But it doesn't have the same guarantees as you would have just with using the core. Mm-hmm. And then also you could have the ability just to upload your own zip. If anyone's used WordPress before, it'd be exactly the same as WordPress. That's what we're going for, because it's an application. Like, say what you want about WordPress, the software being shitty and on PHP, the application is good. Yeah. And that's why it's so successful. So we're just modeling LNbits on that. That's what we're going for. And that's the user experience we're going for. And Fusion 44, Stefan, he's built that as well. Another thing I should have shelled, and I didn't shell.
But I think if we keep talking, we can come up with another 5 to 6 things,
Well, I think that's it, because I was thinking, I have it here, the Diagon Alley and Nostar, it's like disrupting the market is the thing to do, or the thing to think about. And it seems like everybody's busy with Lightning, isn't held back by conventions or something. Is it, what in your opinion causes people to have this way of thinking and looking at the world as a developer?
I think that's what we talked about last time with skeuomorphic design.
Yeah.
In the podcast I did with you, which is that when you're and John Nash, John Nash, the person who basically invented game theory, came up with this idea of mind on strike. Which is if you put a mind, like a human mind, within certain boundaries, in certain level of oppression, then it won't be able to offer up free and creative ideas. Which is why, historically, liberated minds who came up with new ideas were like rich kids, because they didn't have the constraints of having to work.
Thinking like a kid, or
like
free.
Nietzsche or whatever. Yeah. Like he had loads of money behind him. Marx had his friend Engels to pay.
So
for
more
stuff.
innovation is due to we're not free, we're pressured.
Free minds, like we're the minds are under pressure, so they're not able to think freely. Yeah. And I think that applies to design constraints. If you put yourself in a box of design constraints, then you can't think freely, which our legacy partners in the Visa world can't do. Whereas us lot, and this is what we said, I think, in our last podcast, we've marginalized ourselves by looking subjectively at the financial system and saying, this isn't right. This could be done in a more free and open source way, in a more non-custodial way, in which I don't have to have a trusted third party sat in the room when I'm making a simple transaction for a beer or whatever. This could be better. But by doing that, we're marginalizing ourselves out from society, or from, how people interact with money. Yeah. And by marginalizing yourself out, you're then, because you're here, you're not in the middle, so you have a better perspective of the problems which exist and the solutions which need to be built. So then psychologically, I I think then we're in a better not in a better position. We're in a position where we're able to see this stuff more subjectively, and we're able to come up with more like new. We're like, oh, why don't we do this? Why don't we have offline payments? Why don't we like?
Then it's flowing.
Yeah, then it flows. Yeah, then it flows. And you have a bunch of like-minded people, and we're all sat on this periphery looking in, thinking the world's crazy. We can build this shit better. Come on, let's go. And we can see the problems. Whereas if you're in the middle of it and you're like, well, my money works fine for me. Why should I have to? Why should I have to have private money if I'm not a criminal? Well, then you're constraining yourself and your own creative potential.
That's right.
Yeah.
Through the minds.
I think this is a nice way to end the interview, Ben. And I also
think
saw
it
that your
is.
beer is finished, so I think...
You need your 9th beer.
My
then.
9th beer. And
You're
maybe a bit
going
of
for
lunch.
21, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we will see you at our
21 or
meetup later tonight.
This evening.
And we,
Yep.
So
Well,
we
we're
have,
doing a workshop.
yeah, we can do a workshop over there, yeah. So and
why not?
we will surely have a couple of beers too there. So
You're doing another Connect the World tomorrow now.
Yeah,
we do.
Yeah.
Oh, you
We're
mean the
here,
meetups? The meetups, you mean?
Yeah,
we're
doing 2. Yeah.
two. So we have one tonight and one tomorrow.
So if the workshop's a failure tonight, I can do tomorrow.
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
both
that's
cool.
nights.
Sure.
It's all good.
You can do both of our nights, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's
So thanks.
Thanks,
And,
thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you, guys.
let's keep
Yeah.
in touch again.
Yeah, it's
Sorry.
Carry on with
Cheers.
the great work. Thank you.
Cheers.
Guys. Cheers.